I am live. Welcome everybody to another episode of Sundays with the General. I am back after the 1 week hiatus. I was down in Cape Cod last weekend. We had the second annual Into the Lab Hoopathon with Team Sims Academy. It's not a success. Raised over $1,000 for Team Sims. Got to shake hands with former NBA player Courtney Sims. Pretty cool. Anyway, I am back this week. Not much to talk about. You know, I probably be another quick episode. First off, James White is retired from the NFL after 8 seasons and 3 Super Bowls, and probably should have been a Super Bowl MVP. Um, this guy was the definition of clutch. He was the definition of reliable throughout his career. Um, the third down, it was third and James White. You always knew he was going to make the play. You always knew he was going to be there. Um, Thank you to James White for an awesome fucking career. That Super Bowl against the Falcons, what he did in that game is is literally the stuff of legend, and is the most receptions that any players ever had in one Super Bowl with 14. Yeah, Kenny, that is a great point. Because Patriots running backs are evil in fantasy, except James White, you knew was going to catch the ball. If you were in a PPR league, you knew James White was going to get the ball. Like I said, that Super Bowl, 14 catches, most ever catches in a Super Bowl. Um, 20 points scored in the game. That is the most points ever scored in a Super Bowl by a single player. Also, in that same game, he became one of only two running backs, the other being Roger Craig, to have over 100 receiving yards in a Super Bowl. Like that Super Bowl is just the stuff of legend. Let's not. On top of all that, that's one of those touchdowns is scoring the game-winning touchdown in the biggest comeback in the history of the greatest comeback in the history of the NFL. Um, I'm not going to say a Hall of Fame career, Patriots Hall of Fame career for sure. He will be getting the red jacket. Just shout out to James White. It's a shame that his career had to end this early. Obviously, he had that injury last year. It's not an easy one to recover from, but a hell of a career regardless. The NBA has announced that they are going to retire Bill Russell's number 6. This is well deserved. Very well deserved. Um, my only thing here is that this is way past due, and they only came up with this after Russell's death. And I feel like this is something that they should have been able to do, and they should have come up with while he was still alive, so he could see his name being honored in that way. Coming up with this just a couple weeks after he died is kind of just like, shit, we got to do something, huh? They probably saw it on Adam Silver. Probably saw it on social media and went with that because everyone was saying it on social media that they should do it. They should have already done it. Bill Russell's contributions to the league are undeniable. First ever black coach in the history of the league. Member of the first all-black starting 5 in the NBA. He really changed the game. Obviously, he was one of the best defensive players ever. My other problem with this retiring of the number 6 is that players who are already wearing it are going to get to keep the number. And I'm not just mad about this because LeBron James wears number 6. But I mean, guys like Quentin Grimes on the Knicks and Alex Caruso were wearing number 6. If the number's retired, then retire it. Is Bill Russell's number 6 really retired if Alex Caruso is wearing it? No, it's not. Like that. That's a cop out. They should make these players change their numbers. That's not really retiring the number to me. I don't. Uh, that's not really a great thing. Of course, Miami has said that they will still retire LeBron James number 6, while retiring Russell's number 6, and that I'm not gonna dispute that one at all. Obviously, Miami was gonna retire number 6 for LeBron James. The NBA hadn't put in that, Russell's number was retired before then. They're gonna retire number 6 for James. They'll retire it for Russell, but these players that are wearing the numbers right now should have to change it. It doesn't make any sense to me. The number's either retired or it's not retired. That's pretty much it. I'm glad that they are doing it. I'm very glad that they're doing it. Bill Russell deserves this honor. I am glad that his family gets to see his name honored like that. I do think it's awesome that every stadium this season, every court this season is going to have the lucky clover with the number 6 in it, right in the corner of the arc. Celtics players are going to be jacking up threes from that spot all season long. Of course, they're probably going to hit all of them because it's the lucky clover, but we can't prove that. Like I said, I wish that they could have done this while Bill Russell was still alive. I wish it wasn't something that they came up with immediately after he died as sort of we got to do something. I think he should have been able to have seen this honor while he was still here. All right, it is preseason week 1 in the NFL. Football is finally back. Of course, preseason week 1, I don't buy that much into. The starters don't play. A lot of the starters don't play. You don't learn that much. You don't learn that much from preseason week 1. There's not a lot there. Of course, what's your thought, buddy? I can go on. I can go back. And of course, that is our new podcast right there, Nonsense and Deep Thoughts. I'm assuming that's Corey who's watching right there. Corey, of course, is the holy man on Twitch. Nonsense and Deep Thoughts is a new podcast of Blue Collar Media Group where the name kind of just says it all. They just talk about nonsense and occasionally have deep thoughts. I'm not entirely convinced that they're not stoned. Because that's, just what I do when I'm stoned. Anyway, as I was saying, until Corey dropped his comment there, preseason week 1 doesn't mean much. We saw both Matt Patricia and Joe Judge call plays for the Patriots. Yes, 100%. Retiring a number for the entire league should be reserved for the most important players. I agree. Bill Russell is one of them, probably the most important player in the history of the game. The only other league-wide retirement I can think about was Jackie Robinson, the MLB, and of course he was arguably the most important player in the history of the MLB. I don't think there's none in the NFL. I don't really follow soccer or anything like that. This is the first ever league-wide retirement in the NBA, and it's deserving. It just should have been done sooner. Corey, while you're here, what do you think about players still wearing the number after it's retired? Do you agree that these players should have to change their number? Anyway, while I wait for him to respond, you know, Matt Judge, Jesus Christ. Matt Patricia and Joe Judge both called play for the Patriots the other night. Mac Jones didn't play. I wasn't expecting Mac Jones to play in week 1. Of course, this has stirred up a whole shitstorm from the media. He's not playing because he's not ready. ESPN came out and said no one should wear it. Agreed. Thank you. That's it. I understand these players are already wearing the number, but if the number's retired, then it should be retired. If players are still wearing it, it's not retired. There's a long list of players that are still wearing this number. I looked it up just before the show. If it's retired, it should be retired. If it's not retired, which it doesn't seem like it is, it's not really retired if players are still wearing it. I think that's weak by the NBA. Make these players change their number. All it really does by making them change their number is sell more jerseys. It's just more revenue for you. So, yeah. So I mean, ESPN, like I was saying, even came out and said that the Patriots should be playing Mac Jones in week 1 of the preseason to gain some momentum going into the rest of the preseason. That is the first time in the history of sports that anybody has ever said that a team needs to gain momentum heading into the goddamn preseason. That is the most absolute fucking asinine take I have ever heard in my life. You need momentum for the fucking preseason? This is Dan Graziano on Get Up ESPN. I'm calling you out right here. This is momentum for the preseason? God damn. I don't even know what that means. I didn't know you could get momentum for the preseason because starters don't normally play in the preseason. I'm confused. It doesn't make sense. Again, I don't care that Mac Jones didn't play. I'm actually glad he didn't. Yeah, thank you. Momentum for the preseason. It doesn't really make any sense. If you want to talk about momentum for the playoffs, I'm here for that. That's a real thing. But momentum for the preseason, geez, I can't pull up your other comment here. Yeah, preseason is basically trying to make the roster 100%, and that's more what we saw. It's also for like with more of these rookies who haven't gotten in-game NFL snaps is where they play. So like you said, for guys trying to make the roster, what I watched the preseason for, a guy like Sam Roberts the other night on the Patriots, 6th-round pick, didn't know anything about him after they drafted him. He was just a no-name. Sam Roberts was embarrassing the 7th overall pick in the draft, Evan Neal, on the offensive line for the Giants the other night. Ran him right back. Sam Roberts, absolutely impressed. That's a guy right there that he's making a stand. He's making a fight to put himself on the roster. And he was a guy that, hey, no one really knew who he was. Tyquan Thornton on the Patriots, 2nd-round pick. I'm not gonna get too hyped up early about a receiver in the preseason. This guy looks very good to me. When he was drafted, we were told he was just a speed guy. We see him fighting through contact in the back of the end zone, where we were told he was too skinny to do that sort of thing. His route running looks crisp. It looks clean. He looks like he's more than just a speed guy. Again, this is just preseason week 1. I don't buy too much into any of this. Malik Willis looked all right to me the other day. I haven't watched every game yet. Sorry, there's only so many. There's so many at a time. I'll catch up on them. Malik Willis looked okay. 6 for 11, 107 yards, five carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown. That's a solid day in his first preseason game for a guy who was probably supposed to be a bit of a project coming into the league. Trey Lance, we saw a complete deep. I have not watched the entire San Fran game. I saw him miss a couple of easy passes early on in it, so I'm going to have to go back and watch the San Fran Packers game and all of his drives to really tell you anything, to really give you my thoughts on that. Kenny Pickett, it was 11 and 13, 100-something yards, 2 touchdowns, game-winning drive. Again, this is what you like to see in the preseason is guys that you thought may not have been ready who, like Kenny Pickett might have been, we were all probably thinking was going to sit on the bench his first year in the NFL. Well, Mason Rudolph looked like shit last night. Kenny Pickett looked good. George Pickens looks good. Of course, way too many overreactions on that. How good he looks so far. I'm not going to say that he's Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson like people are all freaking out about because he did what he did in the preseason game. But he did look good. It is, again, it's preseason week 1. Now, the Jets and the Eagles game, Zach Wilson got hurt. Everyone thought that it was an ACL injury at first. We have all the Twitter doctors out there. They do a great job at misdiagnosing everything. It's not anything serious. And I believe they said it was a meniscus. 2 to 4 week recovery time. So again, not that serious, but it's still 2 to 4 weeks that he's not going to be able to play. This is why yeah, like I said, Corey, those Twitter doctors, man, they are great at misdiagnosing things. The guy was done for the year, and now it's 2 to 4 weeks. Of course, that's a whole preseason, and that's most of Pittsburgh. Luke, yeah, I'm sure you're very happy about how Pickett and Pickens looked last night. Pickett and Pickens, that is. I kind of feel bad for like the commentators who are going to have to like say that like during the game, like Pickett to Pickens for the touchdown. That's going to be hard to say a bunch of times. So you got to like almost hope that he doesn't throw too many touchdowns to Pickens, just so you don't have to say that a bunch of times. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, Zach Wilson. So it's 2 to 4 weeks. Again, it's not a huge deal, but it is the rest of camp. It is the rest of the preseason, pretty much. If he's out for 4 weeks, that's preseason's over. So that's not huge, but that's, again, it's why I don't want to that's why I'm glad that Mac Jones isn't playing week 1 of the preseason when there's still joint practice coming up, because I don't want to risk my starters getting hurt for a game that they don't need to play in. In that same game, I have to touch on this before I wrap up. This Quentin Williams hit on Jalen Hurts on the sidelines. It is completely fucking dirty. He is 3 steps out of fucking bounds. He fucking leads with his helmet. Exactly, Luke. The Jalen Hurts hit. He launches his elbow and his head right into the right into Hurts' head. 3 steps out of bounds. Clear intentional. Outright disgusting, as Luke put it. It was clear-cut intentional. There was no place for that in a regular season game, let alone a fucking preseason game. Nick Sirianni, as Luke said, Saleh and Sirianni yelling at each other. I love it. Sirianni screaming across the sidelines at Saleh, 100%. The reasonable reaction by the head coach right there. That is how the coach should be acting. You have to respect him acting that way. And Saleh, you can talk all you want after the game. I saw the comments about, this is one of the things we're trying to get Quentin to take out of his game. No, You didn't pull him out of the fucking game after. It's disgusting for the player to be doing that. You didn't take him out of the game. If he's still doing that in the NFL, that's on you. That's coaching. That's coaching right there. Hitting a player three steps out of bounds and leading with your head. Absolutely fucking disgusting. In a preseason game, trying to injure a player, that's absolutely disgusting. And I'd say that the Jets should be ashamed of themselves, but they're probably already ashamed of themselves because they're the fucking New York Jets. I forgot to make a banner for it. Richard Seymour last weekend was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. Finally, long overdue. Should have already been in there. Glad to see him in there. Was very happy to see the video of Ty Law going to his house. If anyone, even if you're not a Patriots fan, if you're just a football fan, the video of his old teammate showing up in the gold jacket to his house to let him know that he's been inducted in the Hall of Fame is fucking awesome. Just I think as any sports fan, I think would enjoy that emotion if you understand what it's like for these guys and how much it really means to them getting into the Hall. The only thing I got to say about coming off this Hall of Fame class is Rodney Harrison is still not in. They put in Leroy Butler this year. They already put in John Lynch. Rodney was the better player than both of them. There is no debate on that. The stats are better. He has more tackles. He has more picks. He has more sacks than either of them. He also has more Super Bowls. He was the better player. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame over either one of those guys. The sports writers are refusing to put him in the Hall of Fame because he wasn't nice to them, and they didn't like him because they thought he played dirty. Go fuck yourselves. Get over it. You're immature. I'm gonna hear people say the HGH is what's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. Well, they put Peyton Manning in on the first ballot. No one really cared about the HGH for him ever in his career. Funny how that works. No, I don't believe that he was setting it, that his wife was buying all that HGH for herself. I don't buy that story. Rodney Harrison should be in the Hall of Fame. But, of course, I am glad Richard Seymour was able to get in finally. It's a cool moment for him. The best part of the speech, forget about all the thanking of the coaches, the teammates, and all that. The best part of the speech for me was when he says, I knew where I wanted to go getting drafted. I wanted to go somewhere warm, and God answered that prayer and sent me to south of the Mass Pike. And, yeah, sorry, buddy. Didn't quite go as you planned on the being warm part. Anyway, that's all I got for you folks this week. I will be back next week, probably talking about more preseason. Sure, something will come up in either the NFL, the NBA, some sort of drama for me to talk about. Of course, I'll be back next week. Don't forget, everybody, this episode has been brought to you by creationsnacks.com. Use code BCMG for 20% off. I'll see you all next week.